on with the Reidsville, Georgia Community Floods group, which Miss Jackie Jones is the leader of. So to give you some background, Anthropocene Alliance, we are the nation's largest coalition of communities fighting for climate and environmental justice. So we have over 250 members in 41 US states and territories, and we're growing very rapidly. So it's very exciting to be here and to be seeing our projects kind of move along. We work with communities that are impacted by the effects of extreme climate, such as flooding, wildfires, heat, drought, and also environmental contaminants and toxic industries. The majority of our members represent low-income, Black, Latino, and Indigenous communities. So we're always working to uplift communities that have been underrepresented and work with them to access funding that has been historically denied to those communities. Most of our members are community-based organizations, but we also work with tribes and small municipalities. Here you can see just a spread of where our members are located, but of course this is a rapidly changing map and we're always hoping to increase, so that is to be updated. And of course, one of our members, like I mentioned, is the Reidsville, Georgia Community Floods group, which we started a project with them back in 2021. And the project goals that we had determined were first to address flooding. Ms. Jackie had been dealing with flooding in her property and had identified other areas in the city where there had been flooding. So we really wanted to, focus on that issue and be able to identify where the flooding was happening and be able to address it to safeguard the well-being of the residents. Going beyond that, though, we also wanted to identify areas where there were other issues with infrastructure, such as stormwater, drinking water, or wastewater infrastructure, and be able to identify those, pinpoint them, and also secure funding to address them. So that's kind of our third goal, is to secure funding. There's an unprecedented amount of funding available right now for community-based organizations and municipalities to address those infrastructure challenges. So through the bipartisan infrastructure law and other types of investments, we want to make sure that as much funding as we can secure for Reidsville, that we can actually access that. So to give you an overview of our project, so we secured the initial grant in 2021, like I mentioned. So Anthropocene Alliance applied on behalf of the Reidsville, Georgia Community Floods group. And we received $35,000 to complete a study examining flooding in 6 properties across both Reidsville and Collins. This culminated in an integrated flood management study, which depicted kind of where the water is moving and how it's impacting the properties. And so those flood characteristics were summarized and used to apply to the second round of funding through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. And again, Anthropocene Alliance applied on behalf of Reidsville, Georgia Community Floods. And the second grant was used to address broader regional issues and do a wider scope, both in Reidsville and Collins. This has been a 12-month-long project, and it's wrapping up at the end of April. And the culmination of that is going to be a restorative landscape plan, which is going to hopefully guide further funding and funding for implementation of those project results. So to give you an overview of kind of a clearer timeline, so we started back in June of 2023 with some site analysis, have been conducting outreach and community meetings. And today, here we are in February, we're working with an engineering firm, Sherwood Engineers. They're completing the conceptual designs for the 6 sites that I spoke about, and also the restorative landscape plan. And very excitingly, we've also received technical assistance to apply for a grant through the Environmental Protection Agency called the Community Change Grant, which could award between $10 to $20 million to Reidsville to address some of these broader issues that we've identified. So that was part of the project that we were working on today, and my lovely team here. We were doing site visits and kind of identifying some of the challenges throughout the town to hopefully identify narrow down a couple of projects that would be feasible to apply for that grant. So that is a 5.5 month technical assistance. So it started, today was our kind of our kickoff, and we'll receive some designs from this collaboration and be able to apply for this grant and hopefully see some very impressive results. We're also hoping to identify other potential sources of funding, since it's not a promised $10 to $20 million. We want to make sure we have our bases covered and hopefully receive funding, if not from the EPA Community Change Grant, then from somewhere else. So we've also considered applying for additional National Fish and Wildlife Foundation implementation grants. There's also additional support that we can receive from the Silver Jackets, which is a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers program, where they can do modeling and feasibility of additional studies. We're also working with the Environmental Policy Innovation Center. We can explore various funding avenues through them, which include state revolving loan funds, but are not limited to those that type of funding. There's also FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which has the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities grant program. And we basically have built a baseline that will help us to apply for these funding sources. So we have technical capacity and capabilities to be able to pursue these. So our sort of next steps, as I mentioned, we have current National Fish and Wildlife Federation funding until the end of April. And like I mentioned, we're undergoing the EPA Community Change Grant technical assistance process, which is for 5.5 months, and then we'll apply for that grant and hopefully be successful. We're going to use our recommendations from the current project and the EPA technical assistance designs to pursue other sources of funding to make sure that we can actually implement the projects that we have identified as priorities. And beyond that, we're going to continue to leverage both funding and partnerships to resolve flooding issues and more broadly improve the city's infrastructure and the well-being of its citizens. I want to thank everyone again. Thank you to Ms. Jackie for her leadership and Ms. Mayor Nail for her leadership as well, for making time for us today. And I'll welcome any questions that you may have, and hope to see you in the future for more updates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Anybody else?
Yeah. Okay.
Y'all good? Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good job.